Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty critical, something a lot of leaders run into.
Yeah, it's that moment, isn't it?
Exactly. Why do so many organizations or movements or even, successful nonprofits just seem to hit a wall? Or worse, collapse the second that founding leader steps away?
The gravity around that founder is huge. It's a common story.
It really is. So for the work to genuinely last, the founder has to do something that feels, well, almost backward, doesn't it? They have to make themselves redundant.
Completely redundant. That's the goal.
We've looked through the source material you sent over asking, is there actually a blueprint for this? A way to handle that transfer authority successfully?
There absolutely is. And the sources, they consistently call this the fruit-bearing phase.
The fruit-bearing phase, okay.
Think of it like the ultimate succession plan. It's
Yeah.
that critical pivot point where the dependence shifts entirely from the planter, the founder, the visionary,
Right.
to leadership that's self-sustaining, local, indigenous.
And it's not accidental.
Not at all. That's the key takeaway here. It has to be intentional. Dependence on the founder isn't necessarily bad at the start. It's actually the bridge.
Ah, the bridge.
Exactly. The necessary bridge to get to real, local ownership, scalability, and, long-term sustainability.
Okay, so if you're listening and maybe running up against your own limits, your own capacity, or if you're staring down succession planning, fighting that feeling of stagnation, or maybe you're trying to scale something fast by building strong local teams.
Then this deep dive is definitely for you.
Yeah, we're going to unpack the process of creating a system that lasts, not just, well, a personality cult around one person.
And history really backs this up, doesn't it? When you look at movements that have lasted globally.
Like what?
Well, think about the house churches in China, resilient without central figures. Or, historically, the Moravians, the early Methodists, huge multiplication.
Right.
They all show this clear pattern. Communities really thrive, they multiply, only when leadership is truly owned and embedded right there, locally.
Not just propped up by outsiders or the founder's own charisma forever.
Precisely. That's the shift.
All right, let's dig into this blueprint then. Starting with what feels like the biggest hurdle, the mindset shift.
Yeah, the psychology of it.
Our sources talk about this core paradox.
Yeah.
You have to trade being the hero for being a steward. That sounds tough. If you built something from nothing, isn't your identity all tied up in being essential?
It often is. And that's why overcoming this hero complex is absolutely step one.
Why?
Because if the real goal is multiplication genuine fruit, then how you define success has to totally change.
Okay.
Fruit can't just be, the output of a really smart program or the founder burning the midnight oil.
Right. It's not just about effort.
No.
Yeah.
The sources are really clear. The leader's job changes. You go from being the heroic producer, the one doing it all,
The indispensable one.
yes, to being the humble steward who just cultivates the environment for growth. It's like shifting from being the sun to being the gardener.
That's a great analogy. And the sources point to a kind of masterclass in this, a historical three-part leadership strategy. Can you walk us through that pattern?
Sure, it's a really practical, progressive arc. Stage one is come and see.
Come and see.
This is all about relationship, proximity, letting people observe, get curious. Think of it like, a corporate shadowing program. Or maybe open meetings, storytelling.
Building that initial interest and buy-in.
Exactly, getting potential leaders intrigued. Then, phase two, it shifts to follow me.
Okay, more active now.
Much more. This is embodied apprenticeship, learning by doing, side by side. They pick up the shared rhythms, how we pray, how we handle conflict, how we communicate the vision.
And getting corrected along the way.
Oh, absolutely. Real-time, situated learning. It's imitation, really doing the work with the founder.
That sounds like the real stress test. And the final part.
Phase three is go and make disciples. Or in, say, organizational terms, it's the final commission, the full transfer of authority.
The handoff.
Yes. And here's where it gets really provocative for leaders facing succession planning. That final handoff, historically, the ascension, it's framed as a leadership strategy.
Oh, so.
By removing the physical presence, the leader deliberately clears space. It forces the team to rely on the established systems, the shared spirit or culture.
Making sure it's not dependent on one person being physically there.
Precisely. That immediate vacuum. It actually creates the space needed for that distributed local authority to really take root and flourish.
Okay, that makes sense theologically or strategically, but let's get practical. If the mindset is shifted, what's the actual roadmap for this handoff? We've got a three-stage model from the sources, stage A.
Right. Stage A is the rooting or observe phase. Usually this is the first year, maybe 0 to 12 months.
Rooting, establishing the basic.
Exactly. Setting up those core rhythms, maybe it's word, prayer, baptism in a church context, or core operational procedures in a business. But critically, it also requires identifying potential leaders right away.
Wait, right away. In the first year, isn't the focus usually just survival at that point, not planning your exit?
It feels counterintuitive, but yes, the sources stress looking for what they call the GAT profile: gifted, available, and teachable.
GAT, gifted, available, teachable.
You're spotting who already shows the character, the commitment, even if their skills aren't polished yet, and the action item. Start formal leadership apprenticeships with them immediately.
How formal?
A minimum of 6, maybe 12 months of deep one-on-one pairing. They shadow you everywhere. You're testing their capacity, their character under pressure, not just their initial enthusiasm.
Okay, intense immersion. That leads into stage B, strengthening or imitation. Months 18 to 48, roughly.
Yeah, around year 2 to 4. This is where the organization really starts to mature, build its institutional backbone.
Putting systems in place.
Totally. The focus shifts squarely to systems and formalization. You have to formalize a governance model. Maybe it's elders, maybe a management committee, whatever fits the context.
In training.
Structured leader training modules become crucial. Not casual chats, but covering the depth theology or vision, conflict resolution, admin, finances. The works.
And the big action item here, you said, is rotation. That sounds risky.
Is the stress test for distributed leadership. You have to regularly rotate primary responsibilities.
Like what kind of responsibilities?
Maybe leading key meetings, handling major client issues, key administrative duties, vendor relations, payroll. You rotate these among the leaders you've been training.
It's more than just delegating tasks.
Oh, much more. It's proving both to them and to the wider community or organization that the authority isn't just with the founder anymore. It tests their real capacity.
Which ideally leads to stage C, fruit bearing or sending. This is years 3 to 7, maybe longer. The end goal.
This is it. Full resilience. The key the actual physical transfer of primary executive and pastoral or operational responsibilities to those local leaders. The founder steps back.
They actually step back.
Yes. And then, importantly, those newly empowered local leaders, their job immediately includes multiplication.
So not just maintaining, but growing.
Absolutely. Launching new initiatives, daughter works, community projects, expanding the mission. And crucially, the sources hammer this home. Those leaders must immediately set up apprenticeships for the next generation.
Building the pipeline continues.
If you don't start forming that next layer down, the whole cycle breaks eventually. That residency or apprenticeship might be 6 months, maybe 24 months, but it has to start.
You emphasized earlier that apprenticeship is the real heart of this, not just the classroom training. Can you give us a feel for that rhythm? What does it look like day to day?
Yeah, it'd have to be holistic. It needs to weave together 4 pillars. The deep stuff, theology or vision, character formation, probably the most vital, practical skills and contextual wisdom, really understanding the local nuances.
So how do you integrate all that?
The recommended rhythm is pretty practical. Maybe 1 day a week shadowing a mentor in really high-stakes situations. 1 day a month in a formal training cohort, getting structured input, and then quarterly team retreats for deeper reflection and just building those relationships.
So it's learning by watching, learning by instruction, and learning by reflection.
Exactly. A full-body learning experience, not just head knowledge.
Okay, we have the roadmap. Now let's talk about making it stick. Durability. What structures need to be in place so the whole thing doesn't just unravel during or after the founder steps back?
Yeah, structure is key to avoiding fragility. The sources highlight a couple of big ones. First, covenantal clarity.
Covenantal clarity sounds serious.
It is. The handover can't just be a quiet agreement or, decided in secret. It needs to be public, committed, covenanted.
How do you make it concrete?
The specific advice is to draft a really clear, ideally 1-page transition covenant.
1 page. What needs to be on that 1 page to make it work?
3 things are critical. 1, the unified vision. Everyone agrees on where things are going. 2, clear definitions of the new roles and responsibilities for the local leaders. No ambiguity.
And 3rd.
And maybe the most crucial, a public, firm time frame for the full transition, usually 3 to 5 years.
So it creates accountability.
Exactly. The founder can't easily backtrack, and the local leaders know precisely when they're expected to fully step into the role. It makes it real.
Okay, clarity through covenant. Now let's hit the really tough one, money.
Always the elephant in the room.
Financial dependence seems like the biggest lever keeping founders indispensable, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's grants for a nonprofit or subsidies for a mission.
It's huge. Financial health is described in the sources as both a spiritual and a practical sign of real ownership.
So how do you break that dependence?
If there's external funding, the plan must include a rigorous, phased subsidy reduction schedule, usually over 3 to 5 years,
Tied to performance.
explicitly tied to milestones in local giving or revenue generation. The toughest part is often psychological, convincing local leaders that can actually sustain it themselves.
How do you build that confidence?
Radical transparency is key. Monthly financial reports, open discussions, clear teaching on stewardship or financial management, it builds trust and capacity over time.
I like that the blueprint insists appointments should be based on competence, not just, well, loyalty or time served.
Yes, competence is crucial.
But that can be tricky politically, can it? Overriding tenure or maybe even family ties because someone isn't actually capable.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
That's where assessment tools or competency gates come in. These are objective, measurable checkpoints.
Competency gates.
Yeah, you have to pass them before appointment. It ensures the role is earned, not just handed out as a token. And because the standards are objective and public, it helps mitigate some of that political blowback.
Okay, give us examples. What does a competency gate actually look like?
It needs to be multifaceted. You might use 360-degree feedback from peers, from the community. You might require the candidate to write a detailed reflection on their character, a spiritual autobiography perhaps.
Yeah, and practical tests?
Definitely. Practical exams are vital. Run simulations, have them preach a sermon, lead a complex meeting, handle a mock counseling session, or make a significant administrative decision. Trained assessors evaluate their actual performance before they get the job.
So it's about quality control, ensuring they're truly ready.
Exactly. High-quality control for high-stakes roles.
Right, we've got the plan, the structures. Now, the reality check. What are the big traps? Where does this fruit-bearing phase usually get derailed? The sources mention 2 major pitfalls.
Yeah, often right near the finish line. The first is that psychological one we touched on, the founder's trap.
The one-man orchard.
Exactly. The planter, the founder, just refuses to genuinely let go. Often it's subtle. They keep veto power. They have to be involved in every decision. They hog the spotlight.
Because their identity is still wrapped up in being needed.
Precisely. They need to be the one who fixes everything.
So what's the fix for that? How do you counter it?
It takes real self-awareness, sometimes painful, and accountability structures.
Right.
The practical fix is that early, consistent rotation of responsibilities we talked about.
Right, getting them used to others leading.
Yes, and reinforcing it with those public, covenanted timelines for the handoff. Founders have to really internalize that they're meant to be midwives, not monarchs.
Midwives, not monarchs. I like that.
Their job is to birth and nurture it, not rule it forever. When they cling on, the whole thing becomes brittle.
Okay, founder's trap is one. What's the second big threat?
The second is the danger of cultural transplantation,
Meaning?
meaning imposing foreign forms, importing organizational structures, jargon, ways of meeting, even styles of communication that just don't fit the local context.
Can you give an analogy, maybe for a corporate setting?
Sure. Think about, say, a global company setting up a new office in a different country. If the management style, the meeting rhythms, the way decisions are made, the branding, if it all just copies the London or New York headquarters, exactly.
It'll feel alien. It won't stick.
Exactly. It'll always feel foreign, and local staff won't truly own it. The principle the sources push is cultural incarnation.
Incarnation.
You have to empower local leaders to translate the core mission, the values, the essential practices, even the admin forms, into their own local idioms. Without compromising the core, of course.
Because locals can embody it more effectively.
Far more effectively. Outsiders, founders included, just can't embody the mission within that specific context as well as Indigenous leaders can.
Okay, that makes sense. Finally then, measuring success. If we're moving beyond just counting heads or dollars,
Which we have to.
how do we actually measure genuine fruit? How do we know this transition is working?
You need a balanced dashboard. Both qualitative and quantitative signs that the system is becoming self-replicating.
Okay, what are some of those qualitative markers?
You look for activity and maturity. Are local people starting new initiatives themselves without waiting for permission? Is public teaching or representation shared among several leaders, not just one? Are mature members actively mentoring newer ones, showing the culture is multiplying?
So, signs of decentralized initiative and depth.
Exactly. And then you need the hard numbers too.
The quantitative side.
Quantitatively, look for structural stability. Do you have that stable core of emerging leaders? The sources actually suggest aiming for 6 to 12 people, actively rotating through leadership roles, demonstrating capacity.
6 to 12. That's specific.
It gives a concrete target. And, crucially, verify that local giving or revenue is hitting those phased financial targets you set out in the reduction plan.
So numbers matter, but they need context.
Always. They have to be read alongside the stories of decentralized action and local ownership.
Got it. That's a comprehensive picture.
So really, to bring it all together, this fruit-bearing phase, it fundamentally calls the founder, the planter, to make maybe the hardest leadership trade imaginable.
Trading indispensability.
Trading personal indispensability for multiplication for a sustainable scale. That ancient pattern plant, form, entrust, send it, really is the blueprint for making something that lasts.
So thinking about the listener, what does this mean for you this week? This isn't just theory. It demands real intentionality and humility.
Definitely humility.
We pulled out a few concrete actions you could take, maybe starting today. First, identify those 6 to 12 potential leaders around you, the gifted, available, teachable ones. Invite them into some kind of come-and-see shadowing.
Just start that process.
Second, maybe try drafting that one-page transition covenant, even if it's just a draft. Define roles, set a public time frame for handing over just one major responsibility in the next, say, 3 years.
Make it concrete.
And third, start rotating some duties now, minor ones maybe. Pastoral tasks, admin, operational things. Don't wait until you're thinking about leaving. Start transferring power when you want the thing to stabilize and grow beyond you.
That's the key. Start early. Remember this final thought, something to chew on. The New Testament doesn't give us a static org chart with one person at the top forever.
No, it's a movement.
It's a dynamic movement built for distribution. So, clinging to founder dependence, clinging to being indispensable, it's actually denying the wisdom baked into the model itself.
The wisdom of intentional release.
Exactly. The founder's deepest, most lasting work isn't just building the thing, it's stewarding their own role so that the life within it multiplies long after they've intentionally, purposefully walked away.